You never really asked yourself if the smile on your face belonged to you. You just wore it like everyone else did. You got up, got dressed, played your part, but deep inside there's this quiet ache, this soft but relentless tug at your chest that whispers, "This isn't it." And yet, you push it down, because everyone else seems fine, because no one ever told you happiness could be something different, something not handed to you in a social template, something that wasn't measured in likes, degrees, promotions, or compliments. But what if your sadness isn't personal at all? What if it's systemic? What if your unhappiness is the logical result of trying to find joy in a society that profits from your discontent? Rousseau believed we were happiest in a state of nature, before society tamed us, before we were taught to compare, before we became products of what he called amour propre, a false sense of self built on how others see us. You weren't born chasing validation, that was taught. Slowly, patiently, repetitively, and now you chase approval like it's oxygen, forgetting you once breathed freely. You didn't choose this script, it was handed to you. From the moment you could walk, they began preparing you to fit in, to perform, to compete. They taught you what was beautiful, what was respectable, what was desirable, and you listened. Because children always listen, not with logic, but with survival. You became what they said you should be, because love felt conditional. Acceptance had terms, happiness had a checklist. And then came school, where you learned not to question, but to obey, where creativity was punished if it wasn't in the syllabus, where joy was earned only through achievement, where failure was shame, and shame was silence. You learned how to hide your pain, to shrink your curiosity, to crave applause instead of truth. But the real tragedy is not that society taught you these things. It's that it made you forget there was ever an alternative. Look at the lives around you. Look at how many people are performing their joy. Watch their smiles, the kind that don't reach the eyes. Listen to how people talk about their jobs, their marriages, their vacations. There's a script. There's a tone. There's an image they must maintain, because the moment someone breaks character, the system punishes them. You feel it too, that silent panic when you don't feel grateful enough, when you aren't busy enough, when you're not happy enough. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to your output, that love is something to be earned, that rest is laziness, that boundaries are selfish, that suffering is noble only if it's productive. You've been lied to. And yet, it's not entirely your fault, because this society is not neutral. It rewards the compliant. It uplifts the performers. It silences the honest. It keeps you busy, exhausted, distracted. So you never have time to ask the real questions. What makes me happy? What kind of life do I want? Who am I when no one is watching? But the answers to those questions are scary, because they often point away from what everyone else is doing. And being different feels like dying, when your safety has always depended on belonging. And so you compromise, a little here, a little there, until one day you wake up and don't recognize yourself. You laugh at things you don't find funny. You work for things you don't even want. You surround yourself with people who drain you because being alone feels like defeat. Because somewhere along the way, society convinced you that solitude is failure. You wonder why you're unhappy. But how could you not be? When Rousseau said that man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains, he wasn't speaking in metaphor. The chains are real. They are invisible, but tight. They are made of expectations, norms, shame, and fear, and they are passed down with good intentions. Your parents wanted you to succeed. Your teachers wanted you to thrive, but they were shaped by the same machinery that shaped you. They didn't question it either. They couldn't. Because questioning the system often comes with consequences. So here you are, Another link in the chain, trying to make sense of the discomfort you feel every time you slow down, every time you say no, every time you imagine a different kind of life. Because you were never taught how to be happy, you were taught how to function, how to be useful, how to impress, but not how to rest, not how to listen to yourself, not how to trust your own emotions without needing a second opinion. You scroll through feeds full of curated lives, you compare, you despair, you wonder why their joy looks so effortless, but you forget that they're performing too. And the saddest part is, we all know it, and we still play along because pretending is safer than being real. Realness makes people uncomfortable, and discomfort leads to rejection. But what if rejection isn't the worst thing? What if the price of fitting in is too high? What if happiness isn't in being loved by everyone, but in being understood by a few, or even just by yourself? You don't need to earn joy. It's not a prize. It's not a privilege. It's a state. And it begins where performance ended. It begins when you let go of the version of you they sold, and you start becoming the version you buried. The irony is that society tells you to be yourself and then punishes you for doing exactly that. You are applauded for being authentic as long as your authenticity is marketable. You are praised for being vulnerable as long as your wounds are aesthetic. But real mess, real fear, real uncertainty, that scares people because they've buried theirs too. Maybe that's why you feel alone. Because everyone is pretending not to be miserable. Everyone is quietly panicking, smiling through despair, pretending that their life plan makes sense. But it doesn't. And deep down, you know it. And so did Rousseau. He believed civilization made us sick, that the more advanced we became, the more alienated we felt, that progress without soul leads to emptiness, that happiness cannot be mass-produced, that peace cannot come from competition. You weren't made for this pace, for this pressure, for this endless striving. You were made to feel, to rest, to connect, to wander, to exist without explanation. But somewhere along the way, existing wasn't enough. You had to prove yourself, every day, in every role, even when it broke you. And now you wonder why you're tired. But maybe that tiredness is a clue. Maybe it's your body trying to tell you the truth your mind is too afraid to say. This isn't working. This isn't you. And you're not crazy for feeling that way. You're awake. The question is, what do you do with that awakening? Because the system won't change itself. It won't slow down for you. It won't rewrite the script. You have to be the one who does that, who stops chasing and starts listening, who stops performing and starts being. And it won't be easy. You will feel alone. You will doubt yourself. But on the other side of that loneliness is something rare, something sacred, a kind of peace that doesn't need permission, a kind of joy that doesn't need applause. It's your life. And you get to define what happiness means for you, even if no one claps, even if no one understands, even if it takes time. You don't owe anyone your conformity. You owe yourself your truth. And if that makes you an outsider, so be it. Better to be rejected for who you are than accepted for who you're not. And maybe, just maybe, once you stop pretending, you'll find others who've stopped too. People who aren't afraid to sit in the silence, to laugh without reason, to cry without shame, to live without explanation. That's where happiness lives, not in the system, but in the rebellion.